New setbacks for the Trump administration and what has been a losing defense of those weekend deportations. A judge rejecting Trump's extreme claims for wartime powers during peacetime right now. Now, the update tonight is the judge in that same case that we've been covering, rebuking the DOJ lawyers for stonewalling on behalf of Trump and evading their legal obligations, finding the administration failed to provide the requested information on time, and then instead was, quote, repeating the same general information about the flights. Overall, the judge finding that the administration's filing is, quote, woefully insufficient. That is not good. And judges often are known for being very careful and broad and sort of precise in how they rule. Woefully insufficient means you're blowing it. And the filings are confidential under seal, but when you read between the lines, what you see here is that the judge views what we have so far as a clear case of public government activities. We all saw the deportations. Indeed, they made sure of that. And the judges found that they likely violated the law because you don't have a foreign invasion during a war to justify it. I'm simplifying, but that's the basics. Now, the DOJ, after that initial loss, is now claiming a kind of exaggerated secrecy about everything here. Remember, the deportations were public. They promoted them. But now the DOJ has been saying in its defense, we can't tell you certain things, and it's a big secret, and we shouldn't even have to discuss this in open court, like this is Mission Impossible or something. And the judge is basically skeptical of that and pushing the DOJ to explain what really happened with the flight details, which might show, furthermore, how much they violated an order, which the president claims they don't want to do. And the judge is asking them, if they are saying this is a Mission Impossible level state secret, are they going with the right process and formal officials to invoke the state secrets privilege? They have to decide by Tuesday. So what you're seeing here play out is what we've been reporting all week. The administration is testing these orders. In some cases, there is evidence, that's the fairest way I can say it, that they crossed the line and violated the orders. Then they kind of walk it back with the president saying, well, that's not what we meant to do, we would never do it, and even disclaiming doing it in the future. It's the two-step I've told you about, a kind of double talk where the president knows that even in his current super MAGA second-term energy, he doesn't want to admit that they have an autocratic agenda of defying court orders, while his officials, his aides, who he empowers, promote that kind of defiance.
And judges
would
that
you
were
defy
so
a court
corrupt.
order? Because that we all know that was outrageous.
I never did defy a court order.
I don't care what the judges think. I don't care what the left thinks. We're coming.
And you wouldn't in the future?
No, you can't do that.
The administration may continue doing these flights? Absolutely.
You can't defy the court order on the flights? Absolutely, we will. This does not stand. An administration divided won't stand well in court, especially going all the way up to the Supreme Court, whose Chief Justice issued that rare rebuke of President Trump this week. Now, that's all on the one deportation case, which I would argue, if you have to look at them all right now, it's definitely one of the most important ones where the administration is losing. That's why there's so much noise about it. That's why we're talking about defying a court order, because they lost the first round. Now, the Washington Post reports when you look more broadly, you can find about a dozen rulings where Trump has been found to break the law. That's just over 2 months. Judges finding that some of those cuts likely violated the Constitution and the Trump-Musk agenda. And as we reported from day one, no president can rewrite the Constitution. So another judge notes the efforts to do that are blatantly unconstitutional. Altogether, Trump's last month has a lot of X's, as we've shown you, for a lot of losses, and only a handful of green checks that show some progress. Now, that together can seem like data. It can almost seem abstract or overwhelming. Then you can zoom in to the lives affected. Out of the thousands of workers impacted and the work that they do being stopped and thwarted, take a story from an American veteran who we heard from, Adam Mulvey.
The people that were fired in the first two rounds of terminations were not fired based on performance. They were fired because they were probationary employees with less than full due process rights. It was the easiest way to terminate employees quickly. Right. That's not merit-based. That's not for efficiency.
Fact check, true. It has nothing to do with merit when you just go at the people that are not as legally protected, which is, in this sense, kind of arbitrary. It's not efficient because you're probably clearing out randomly the wrong people, even if you made an efficiency chart of the people you did want to remove. And third, that veteran shared that with us before the rulings that dealt with exactly the point he made, that kind of a focus on probationary workers is not only unfair, it might be unlawful, which is why so many of them are being ordered to be reinstated. This is a system that is designed by the Trump officials to make people cynical, to try to get them to give up, in some cases to try to get workers to quit their very jobs rather than find out what happens. It is designed to grind things down. Keep that in mind if you start to feel like, well, I can't even take it anymore, because that veteran and a heck of a lot of other people we've seen are standing up to it, even against a level of mistreatment that most politicians say our brave veterans shouldn't have to deal with from inside their own government.